Hello, I'm Annalisa Roberts, Director of the Worldwide IoT Partner Marketing Team here at Microsoft. Welcome to another edition of the IoT in Action webinar series. We've heard your feedback, so we will continue to bring you these monthly webinars focused on key industries, spotlighting our partner solutions, and taking a broader look at the digital transformation changing the business landscape. We're going to focus on the security and surveillance industry on today's webinar. IoT is reshaping the security industry. The security sector is prime for reinvention. In fact, this industry, with its humble beginnings in simple devices like the surveillance camera, is quickly surpassing these historical boundaries to become an invaluable source of data and insight. As IoT continues to evolve, it becomes increasingly important to build devices on an IoT platform that correctly balances the security needs while also respecting privacy of the user experience and the resource constraints of diverse devices. Today, we're joined by Farhan Masood, founder and CTO of Soloinsight, a leading security and surveillance IoT partner working on cutting-edge solutions. We'll get to hear from Kirk Arthur, who is the Director of Business Strategy on the Microsoft Global Public Safety and Justice team. He is driving digital transformation within the public sector and the justice industries. And to wrap up the day, we'll get a chance to chat with Microsoft's Phil Courts from the Microsoft IoT Global Channel team focused on the Solutions Accelerator program. He'll deep dive into investments Microsoft is making to help you successfully develop and grow your IoT solution. So let's get started. Now we have the pleasure of chatting with Farhan Masood, founder and CTO of Soloinsight. Welcome, Farhan. We're excited to have you with us on today's webinar. Tell us a bit about your background and what inspired you to start the company Soloinsight.
Well, I have over 23 years of software development experience, especially in the field of security. I've been working with various governments, especially in the Middle East and Pakistan, trying to bring the digital experiences, especially at the airports, bringing the security and convenience. We call it guest experience when people pre 911, there was a different experience of security than what we have post 911. And, we actually saw that the whole security infrastructure was broken. And that is when I decided to, start working on my own algorithms around biometrics. I've been working with machine vision, computer vision, writing software algorithms around biometrics, trying to solve for some of the workflows that are around, ingress and egress of people within buildings. So we actually established Soloinsight. So Soloinsight is basically a visitor lifecycle management company. So you can actually say that we are making, buildings smart, secure, and safe. So we have created attribute-based access control workflows. A visitor is typically not just an employee or just not a guest. It is vendors, these are third-party labor, it is contractors that are walking in and out of buildings. And there are different roles, and each role has a different attribute to go in a building and out. So we decided to actually enhance that whole experience through our patented technologies that we actually built around the building security management.
That's great. Before we jump deeper into what you offer, can you share with our audience how you work with partners?
So we are very open to partnerships. I believe, 1 + 1 is 11. So that's, how our relationship with Microsoft started. We were the Microsoft BizSpark partners and leveraged the ecosystem of the partnerships. We have partnership with PAC solution providers like Genetec, Lenel, Secure, Johnson Control, as well as working with building security, building management systems, fire and safety systems, bringing in Wi-Fi sensors and all that. So we, creating a lot of technology partnerships already, becoming a middleware that connects all these platforms together. We also have interesting relationship with integrators and value-added resellers, where we actually share our, recurring monthly revenue with them. So we already signed up with Johnson Controls, Stanley, Schneider Electric, Converged, Chamberlain. Very open to other partnerships as well, and open to the idea of whitelisting as well.
Okay, great. So what is the CloudGate building security platform? Can you share with us some use cases?
So think of it as a complete visitor lifecycle management solution. It's attribute-based identity and access workflows. So you're actually talking about a visitor either coming from a lobby or a contractor coming from the loading dock, or drivers coming in, and different contractors and consultants and third-party labor walking in and out of the buildings. So you have either kiosk-based access, you have turnstile-based access, you have elevator controls. You want to make sure that all those identities are actually managed according to the workflows that are set for them and the access levels are given. We also interface with your multi-tenant buildings. We actually give access to send boarding pass style badges to people to actually have access to buildings that actually work with their existing access control solution. We are not ripping and replacing any of your existing infrastructure. We also interface with your Wi-Fi guest networks, bringing the interfaces like, you can scan your own badge that was given to you at the lobby to log into a Wi-Fi network, or at the parking lot. We have recently added a new solution around our facial recognition technology, which works with your existing surveillance cameras. One of our customer use cases is that on social media, if they find any threat, they actually add a picture of the person from where the threat has been received into a central system. And our technology converts that picture into a 3D template and distributes around hundreds of locations. So if that person, is found anywhere near any of the facilities, the alerts are generated and created. So this is BOLO-based watch list management. So typically it was used to be text-based. Now we actually brought facial recognition to that.
Oh, that's great. That's very interesting. There's a growing concern with the prox cards being cloned and buildings that can be hacked. How is it done, and how do you secure against that happening?
So we are in interesting times right now. We have actually seen that in the last 3 years, $500 billion of the market value of companies have been lost because of data breaches only, right?
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
So we have seen huge companies biting dust, and right now it is even more threatening that today it's easier to hack a building than to hack a digital list or digital data. So there are 2.5 million American buildings that have that infrastructure in place, believing that is providing them security. The access to those buildings, to doors, to their turnstiles, to the data is based on something that has been a major problem. So the issue is that it's very easy. I would actually be able to show you and demonstrate that how it can be done as well. But the major concern is that the cost of upgrading the systems is so high that and the physical security budgets are so low. All the focus had been on the cybersecurity side. Right. And the physical security side, the budgets are much, in comparison, so little that it doesn't make sense for those upgrades. And that's where the challenge came, and we wanted to actually create a solution around to solve for that major crisis.
That's great. And I believe you have a video to share with us to demonstrate exactly that.
Exactly.
So let's take a look.
RFID cards and badges are extremely common in the workplace. Basically, it's a short-range access card that they'll be able to track when you left, when you got there. So we'll be able to capture employees' cards and write them to our own cards to get unfettered access into the building, usually at night. This is a high-frequency antenna. So this will just connect to the reader-writer with a cable. And then this little device here, it's a mini computer. It's effectively a cloner. It's as simple as walking next to someone, asking someone a question, or even sitting in an elevator and passively capturing the people around you. We bought a garage door reader, RFID reader, and we found some designs online in order to modify it to make it portable.
Wow, that's really scary how quickly someone can hack into a building. What's your company's solution to this exact problem?
So we actually created a layered building security infrastructure. We have been granted a patent on this technology as well. Just imagine that the passwords or the prox cards in a building will not work until the proof of physical presence, whether it's through facial recognition or through biometrics or digital presence through their mobile app, is not detected or verified at the lobby or the loading dock. Now you can actually go multiple layers. If you actually see here that a contractor or 3PL, most of our customers using today the ability to actually scan their faces to dispense a card that can be used for the access levels that have been authorized for that day. And on the way back, they are collected from the same device or kiosk. And if they forget to return the card, if they actually take the card with them, the system will automatically, deactivate those cards within the database. So making sure that any card that leaves the building is no longer, a threat. And as well as, we have created a technology for employees. For example, employees are trusted, partners within a building. And we have created a mobile app for them that actually does geofencing. So if you are walking into a lobby, your phone will automatically activate your badge. If your phone is lost, you have other interfaces to actually report that lost. And we do anomaly detection as well. This problem is not to be taken lightly because today we have, places like 7-Eleven have these kiosks where you can copy most of these prox cards that are used in building for security. It's no longer a geek is required to copy. You just need to have $20 to make sure that and that's where we actually wanted to bring a solution that is cost effective. It does not rip and replace. We're not asking to majorly upgrade all of your hardware, shift every single reader, change every single panel, add new wiring, have a software upgrade. No, it's just an add-on that will actually implement this, security layer and protect your buildings today.
I think you stated a little earlier that typically building security is a cost center, whereas you're suggesting that it ends up saving us millions or thousands of dollars at multiple access points every year. So how is this possible? How do you take the cost of building security and be able to make that accessible to I think you said 2.5 million buildings in the U.S.?
Yeah, so those 2.5 million buildings are, we didn't include any of the residential buildings there because we've been working on the corporate and warehouses, industrial buildings. And this is where the use case is for the, cost cutting or cost saving. So it's typically managing low traffic areas in an enterprise is very expensive. So you have a huge warehouse and you have to have given access to certain areas so that people don't have to walk long ways. But you may be waiting for just 30 people to pass the whole day. And for that reason, if you're a 24/7 operation, you have multiple security guards doing overtime and waiting for those people to pass. So we actually created technology today that actually augments that security guard. What the security guard was supposed to do? He was, supposed to verify your ID. He was supposed to verify why you are there. He was supposed to take information, either you're here to pick up or you're dropping off, how many pallets you're bringing in, have that clipboard filled in, right? And then, pick up the phone and call an escort so that, he can go in and out. So we actually automated that whole technology through artificial intelligence-based workflows that work with facial recognition. So, you have these kiosks that are, replaces the security guards there. And typically, what we are doing is, today security guards, are scarce. There's a shortage in the market already. So we are actually solving for another problem. And when we were working with this particular customer, the use case that we shared, over $76,000 a year has been saved. And it's been documented, for only 2 sites and only 2 access points where we actually replaced through this technology. So. Yeah, wherever you have low traffic or you have high traffic, we're working with, automating the workflow management for trucks going in and out of the warehouses. Today, that e-commerce has actually caused more and more trucks on road, and you have the same real estate for the warehouses. You want to process everything faster. You want to actually facilitate more trucks in a day to be able to move stuff back and forth. And now we actually created that automated technology. We're supposed to have 9 security guards waiting in a guard shack for a truck, because each truck will take 7 minutes to process and match with the yard management system, making sure. And then there was a disconnect between the guard shack, the truck, as well as the forklift driver. So there was a lot of time wasting. So we actually brought that down to 2 security guards being able to manage each truck for less than a minute.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. You mentioned proprietary patent 3D facial recognition. How do you prevent biometric templates and personal information from being stolen?
So we all know about GDPR now. It's like something that not need to be explained.
Yes.
But GDPR law actually, is now being also California is following. There are more other states that are bringing it up. It's like user privacy would be major concern, and user privacy and biometrics don't go typically hand in hand. And that's the solution that we've been trying to solve. That's the problem that we're trying to solve for. And we know that the facial recognition today is considered by most of the privacy advocates that if my prox card is stolen, if my social security number is stolen, I can get a new one. But I can't get a new face if it's stolen. It's like, so,
True.
and they're right to some extent, but how to prevent that? So first, we actually did not follow the photo-based or picture-based facial recognition, so it can't be replayed. So we want to make sure that proof of physical presence is taken, and that is done through 3D sensors. For example, working with HoloLens, Windows Hello, and so some work we are doing on the HoloLens as well for facial recognition, as well as RealSense cameras from Intel that we actually use to actually capture the RGBD input and create a 3D map of a person, making sure that it's a real person. And it's not a mannequin, it's not a 3D print, it's not an evil twin.
Very interesting. What is your take on the convergence of physical and then logical security systems?
Right. So, we believe in, majorly in the convergence of physical and logical security systems. If you look at the WikiLeaks, there was the biggest data breach that has impacted most governments around the world. And that was not a digital data breach issue. It was a physical data theft. It was a contractor on site who had access to the computer to pull. If you stop, working, if you actually don't put the effort around converging the physical and logical security efforts, there is no hope for either of them. So, there is a major hacker who actually says that, I don't have to bypass your firewall if I can bypass your receptionist. It's much easier.
That's a great saying. I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, the insider threat, has been a cause. If you look at the Verizon, data breach report, the whole result is that 84% of the data breaches happen from the insiders and not from the outsiders. Whereas we're actually putting all of our money and effort
on the
outside and not doing anything inside. And that's where we actually started working on converging physical and logical security in a way that, our software does central identity management. So central identity management means that the same facial recognition template that you've taken, it would use for check-ins, for physical security on the elevator and parking and loading dock, would also use to operate your machines. For example, you have a CNC machine that can be used only by this particular operator, or a workstation. We actually have a Windows credential management. We have Windows Hello Companion as well, making legacy compatibility from Windows 7 up till 10. Applications, websites, documents, you can actually secure all of them through one single platform.
That's great. Tell us more about your Azure Digital Twin integration.
So, Azure Digital Twin is a dream come true. We look at all the BMS systems you're setting up, either you have doing your HVAC work or you're doing your building security, you're adding cameras. Everyone goes from the scratch, building their own floors, creating a new blueprint, digital blueprint of the building, and there's no central way to share that data, right? And Azure Digital Twin is doing that it's solving for the exact problem. And, we are deeply interfaced with Azure Digital Twin. We're actually bringing 3D mapping, technology to it, being able to see multiple floors of the building, go up and down to the extent that you can, mark a section, hyperlink that section into, meeting rooms or to the level of a chair. So you can actually manage all your doors and everything with visual. It helps you with the wayfinding, intelligent wayfinding. Microsoft is building amazing solutions around that area. And we actually deeply integrate into Microsoft network, and we are able to bring those technologies to all the set of customers. One additional thing that we're doing, and that's the near future that we actually foresee for our system, is that we're actually bringing location intelligence on the mobile apps. So if you are an employee or a tenant of a building, you have a mobile app that is contextually aware of its environment. It knows that you are in this room. You actually literally point to a light, and the light interface will come, and you click on it and we turn it on. So all that backend integration with BMS systems, IoT sensors, all those locks that you can operate through that whole system is the layer that we are creating on top of Azure Digital Twin.
Oh, that's great. And so be honest here. So how was your experience working with Microsoft on building your solution?
So, if you look at our company has built everything on a Microsoft stack. We are Microsoft Azure Cloud partners. We are Azure IoT partners. We're working with Digital Twins, IoT Hub. We're using Power BI or, deep into Azure Active Directory. Interesting solutions coming out of HoloLens and our integration into Windows Hello companionship. Microsoft have extended enormous amount of help to us in terms of giving us free Azure credits, as well as giving us free software licenses. At the time, we couldn't afford it. And that was the reason, today, Microsoft has not only helped us just from the technology standpoint, but they're actively helping us with the business side of it. For example, we are part of the Co-Sell Ready program. Mm-hmm. Any partners here should actually sign up for that. It's amazing the support that we're getting. They're simplifying our messages. They're creating marketing materials with us, as well as they're taking out to some big, huge companies that we didn't have any access to.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. Thank you very much. If partners or customers want to learn more about Soloinsight, where should they go?
So we have actually set up a special section on our website, so on soloinsight.com/IoT in action.
Oh, perfect.
This is where you can actually find the contact information, as well as you can download a copy of this presentation, as well as more materials.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for being here today, Farhan. We appreciate you taking the time to share what you've been successfully leveraging Azure IoT to build CloudGate.
Thank you.
Up next, I'm excited to welcome Kirk Arthur with Microsoft. Welcome, Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little about your background and what you do at Microsoft?
Yeah, so I'm a director with the Worldwide Government Industry Team, and I focus on public safety and justice. I've been enrolled for a little over 4 years now, and I actually came from U.S. federal law enforcement, where I worked for the United States Secret Service as a special agent.
So just a little bit of experience in the security business?
Just a little.
Just
bit.
A little. Perfect.
Just a smidge.
What types of industry trends are you seeing around IoT in the public safety and security space?
So with industry trends, these are really exciting times if you think about the world that we live in with IoT and pushing things to the edge. So what we're seeing in public safety and justice, and I'll include enterprise security, is taking all these endpoints, the CCTV cameras, access control systems, and start stitching those systems together and start telling a more comprehensive story. Because at the end of the day, it's about situational awareness. Maybe preventing something if you can, but if not, collapsing response times and being more efficient in your response posture and working problems.
Are you finding any difficulties in stitching all of those different endpoints together?
There is. It's still kind of a new concept, especially for government agencies around the world. But the cool thing is with cloud technology, it's making it possible. We're not asking people to rip and replace their investments, and we're just augmenting. We're going to put some intelligence behind those. We're going to start really working problems. I'll use banks of CCTV camera systems in an ops center. Usually they'll have 80, 90, 100, maybe more camera systems. No human can possibly watch all that. But using machine learning and AI, you can do pattern analysis, anomaly detection, all sorts of workloads that can push actionable information to the end user, which is what we want.
How important is cybersecurity to the IoT devices?
Critical. I love the fact that Microsoft, when we tell that story about investing $1 billion in cybersecurity, it's foundational in everything we do. When you think about edge analytics, with Azure Sphere and those investments we've made there, the investments we make in our Azure environment and how we approach that, it's dynamic, it's progressive, it's proactive, it's the right approach to it. Because end of the day, these systems have to work. But there's also another aspect to it too, is when you think about artificial intelligence and specifically facial recognition and the sensitivities around that, we do need to, as a company and as an industry, worry about the ramifications, implications of that. And Microsoft has really taken a lead in that realm.
Where do you see the highest area of growth opportunities when it comes to IoT in the security and justice area?
So we see it across all industries, if you think about it, whether it's airports, it's sporting events and stadiums, it's schools, it's government facilities, it's the city ecosystem, city environment. Again, pulling these systems together, and for an Azure perspective, once those systems are integrated, start telling a story with artificial intelligence and start pushing information to that console and letting first responders be more efficient in how they do it and really improve situational awareness, whether it's a police officer responding to a domestic violence call for service, whether it's responding to a hurricane or a natural disaster, getting infrastructure back up and in place and be able to start providing basic governmental services to the constituents you serve.
What types of customers are adopting these technologies?
They really all are, if you think about it. I'll say government's a little bit slowed adoption because there's a trust factor in understanding what their data is, where it is, and data sovereignty. We have a wonderful story. Part of that $1 billion investment we make, when you think about GDPR and compliance and all those investments, we absolutely understand the value of customer data and protecting that data. And we don't even want to see that data, the contents. That's theirs to own and process. But once that adoption goes and it's accepted, you start thinking about the environment and they start kind of answering the questions themselves. Well, if I can do this at an airport, improve the user experience from curb to the gate, but I can also improve the retail experience, and I'm improving my security posture, coupled or foundationed on an improved cybersecurity resilience, that's a pretty compelling story. That could be an airport, could be a court facility, could be a police department, could be a government building. It really transcends across most things.
Where do you think IoT in the public sector will be in 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome, right? I think when you think about the ubiquity of computing and where we're going and where it's been just the last few short years, I think as more and more things push to the edge, I think you're going to see facial recognition, like with body-worn cameras. I get excited for that workload when you think about law enforcement officers from a pre-attack indicator. If I'm talking to an individual and intends to assault an officer, as the edge gets more mature, maybe you see pre-attack indicators. They blade off their hips, they clench their fists, things that an officer is not going to necessarily pick up on, but maybe technology can give an audible or visual alert. So I just think the further integration and the better enhancements and the business analytics that are going to come from that, I think are going to completely transform this industry.
That's fascinating. I'm excited for it. If people are interested in learning about where they can go, next steps, where would you send them?
So we have great landing pages here for Microsoft on our website. If you go to Microsoft.com and look at those resources, the discussion's way beyond Microsoft as a desktop company in this industry. It's really about our platform capabilities. I really encourage people to take the time and understand our capabilities because they're pretty broad and robust, and especially around workloads like translation, transcription services, pattern analysis, optical character recognition, a host of workloads that can really improve the level of service first responding agencies, courts, corrections, all these industries can provide to their end users.
And when you look at public sector, safety, justice, and you look at like your day-to-day job, how many different types of customers or partners are you meeting with? I mean, you've got fire, you've got, I think you said justice, you said government offices, buildings. I mean, it's wide span.
It's incredible. Even the U.S. it's a big market. It's mind-numbing when you think there's something around 70,000+ first responder organizations. When you think about police services, fire services, emergency services across the world, emergency call centers, numbers in the tens of thousands, and the need for comprehensive emergency services, and having some level of IoT integration and a level of artificial intelligence to help those call responders, location services with cell phone devices. It is a broad spectrum, but it's a huge market. And the great thing about Microsoft is, and we're in all these markets, we're in all these countries, we have the capabilities through the network of data centers we have around the world. We have this fantastic story to tell. We just need to tell it more.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Kirk, for being here today. You provided a great overview of how our partners and customers can take advantage of the evolution of smart security with IoT. So thank you again.
Great. Thank you, Annalisa.
Now we have the pleasure of chatting with Phil Kortz with Microsoft. I'm excited to welcome Phil Kortz, who is on our IoT Global Channels team at Microsoft. Welcome, Phil. Tell us what you do at Microsoft.
Thanks, Annalisa. I'm Phil Kortz. I'm a Principal Solution Specialist here at Microsoft, and I work in the Consumer and Device Sales Division, which traditionally takes care of giving a great Windows experience to our PC maker partners. My specific part of the business focuses on building repeatable IoT solutions, and they're all built on Azure.
Okay, that's super interesting. Thank you. And I love the charter that you have. What are some of the trends that both customers and partners are seeing that you see that we have to work on, need to address?
You know, it's really interesting. IoT is one of those spaces where everyone sees the opportunity. There's a huge economic opportunity ahead of us. We're realizing some of it. But the amount that we're seeing today isn't nearly to the scale that you would expect given the size of it. Mm-hmm. So we attribute a lot of that to complexity. You know, there's no one company that offers all of IoT. Right. And what we really try to do is to patch together the value chain so that we have all the right companies plugging in the right solutions to create a really successful IoT experience.
It looks like we're in a pretty unique position here to be able to help customers and partners in shared success. Tell us about the program that Microsoft has created to address this opportunity.
So, you know, when we think about this complexity, and it's a great question, it really comes into three buckets. So we have this long time to market. You know, you think of a great IoT opportunity, you maybe implement a pilot or a proof of concept. It might take 3 years to actually put that into your production environment and see value. The second issue is cost. They're fairly expensive to create. And the third is that there's no guarantee of success. So what we really try to do is reduce time to market, increase those odds of success, and drive down the cost of deployment. And we do that through three different mechanisms. The first is by creating these repeatable open source reference designs. We call those solution accelerators. They're free for our partners to take and to use and then to resell to their customers. And we help them do that also through an investment mechanism called IoT Accelerate, where we help system integrator partners get to market with 100% ready solutions for their customers. And then finally, we provide ecosystem support. So we help link together the hardware manufacturer with the solution aggregator, with the system integrator. You know, the average IoT solution might see 8 to 10 companies involved in its creation. And we help to link all of those together.
That's great. How are we investing in partners, and can you provide some specifics for the audience?
Great question. Yeah. So we use this investment mechanism that I discussed. And really what it's meant to do is take an IoT project that might be sort of at the maybe ideation or proof of concept stage, and then we take it all the way to pilot. So we invest in 3 different stages. The first is ideation, then proof of concept, which is basically a technical prototype to make sure that it works. And then finally a pilot or a proof of business to show that it works in that environment. So one really good example is a company out of South America called Compass with an X. So instead of the C, you have the X. They're using existing camera infrastructure with their customers to monitor forest fires. And what's really cool about this is it uses the existing hardware, so it saves a bunch of cost, but they're layering on top of it all kinds of artificial intelligence to do what no human can do, which is to understand where the fire is going to go, what kinds of structures and people it might endanger, and then provide a point of intervention before it actually causes trouble.
When you say using existing hardware, what are some examples of the existing hardware that they're using?
So in this case, they're using cameras. Okay. So they're fixed point cameras on poles to monitor where fire risk might occur and where there is a fire, where it might spread. But really, you can think about many different types of scenarios where you could use a very similar type of infrastructure to create very different types of solutions. And this is the trend that we see. You have repeatable components that make sense across different scenarios that you can tweak slightly and then place into entirely different verticals.
So how do you take your programs and then how do you deliver those out to partners?
We really rely on our partners to make it happen. So we have a very close set of system integrator partners that we work with to create those solution accelerators that I was talking about. And then from there, you can take all of those components and then assemble them yourselves in a way which is relatively sure to create a successful deployment. We also have the investment mechanism, and we really try to package all the components together that are necessary to create success. So you can think that we have the useful code, the marketing materials, the user's guide, the installation guides, all of these sorts of elements in the bill of materials.
You package these all up and give them to the partners and say, use these to help create great new solutions like the one you referenced.
Exactly, yeah. So our solution accelerators, we've got 10 of them up on GitHub right now, and we'll provide a link. All of those have everything that you need to get started with an IoT solution. We have them ranging across industries, from very generic asset tracking solutions, which you can use in just about every kind of situation, to very specific ones, like one that works on sucker pumps for oil and gas rigs. It's called a dynamometer reader.
Well, thank you, Phil. This was a great overview. Appreciate you coming in and talking to everyone. It's always interesting to hear about the Solution Accelerator program. Where can our partners go to hear more information?
Thanks, Annalisa. There are a couple of ways of getting in touch. The first one is through the Device Partner Center, where we have our Solution Accelerator portal. And the other way is to send us an email. So you'll see both of those links on the slide here.
Okay. So that concludes today's industry webinar, Focus on Security and Surveillance. You heard from Farhan Masood, who explained how they use CloudGate solutions with key customers looking to create secure and fast access to buildings and more. They shared how partners have benefited from working with them. You also heard from Kirk Arthur on the Microsoft Public Safety and Security teams highlight how digital transformation and IoT is impacting the security space. And finally, Phil discussed the Solutions Accelerator program that can help both customers and partners accelerate their IoT projects with a pre-built design architecture and potential investment opportunities for partners to help design and build solutions. We hope that this security and surveillance focused webinar was of value to you. We have several other webinars that will land each month around healthcare, energy, smart buildings, and more. Visit our webinar information website to learn more and register. Have a great day.